Well, whether you're a seasoned author or just starting your writing adventure, our webinars are designed with your needs in mind. And today we'll be exploring Navigating Chaos, which is my beginner's guide to Scapple's mind mapping magic. And remember, our dedicated technical support team stands ready to tackle any technical issues and to answer your questions throughout the session. I have Ruth moderating the session today. If you encounter any issues, please reach out to her either in the Q&A, if you want to make it a little bit easier for her, or in the chat. She'll be watching both. Let me go ahead and get this party started there. Now, for those of you who wish to revisit today's session or share it with other fellow writers, this webinar will be recorded. And you can find the webinar replay on my YouTube channel tomorrow and enjoy it ad-free next week in the Literature and Latte webinar library. So watch out for that. I think Ruth has gone ahead and posted most of those links for you. I'm going to post one more real quick here just to make sure we got them all. Oops. There we go. Okay. And let's see here if I missed anything. Okay, perfect. So we've kind of got an idea of where everyone's at in terms of what Scapple is, whether you know about it. Some people don't even know what it is at all. So let's dive right in and let's find out. Now let's talk about our schedule. I want to quickly outline what we're going to be looking at today. So to begin, I'll provide a short introduction of Scapple and show you how beginners can get up and running quickly. After that, we'll delve into the core of our training, where I'll discuss and demonstrate Scapple's core tools and features. And to wrap it up, I'll provide you all with a wealth of free resources you can use to utilize and deepen your understanding of Scapple and Scrivener to improve your writing skills. I'll also leave ample time for a Q&A at the end, where I'll answer as many questions as possible. So let's get started. Now, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Oliver Evanson. I'm a writer, editor, and mentor with 15 years of Scrivener and writing experience. And I'm eager to teach you what I have learned in my position as outreach specialist for Literature and Latte of the creators of Scrivener and Scapple. Now, I absolutely love connecting with other like-minded writers like you. If you'd like to connect with me, please send me an email, or better yet, join my email list. I frequently send out valuable tips and techniques to help you become a better writer. And all subscribers will receive a free copy of my free starter novel template, so check that out. And if you'd like to see what books I'm working on and writing in Scrivener, please check out my Substack, oliverevanson.substack.com, either via that link right there or my QR code right there. And of course, if you need any of these things, you can watch the replay and get this again. Okay, well, without further ado, let's talk about Scapple. And before we begin the training, I want to talk about what this incredible app is all about. We had a lot of people here who I'm surprised, don't have any idea what this is, but that's okay. That's why you're here. This is a great place to begin. Scapple is a versatile app for jotting down ideas and organizing them seamlessly. It provides a virtual paper where you can scribble notes anywhere and effortlessly connect them using a drag and drop motion. Additionally, you can stack related thoughts in columns, customize the appearance of individual notes. Scapple even allows you to create background shapes that reinforce and give form to your concepts, all without being confined within a rigid structure. But perhaps what I love most about Scapple is its simplicity. It's easy to use and simple in design. Let's take a look at how you can get started quickly. Now, getting started with Scapple is honestly a breeze. Included with the app is a concise Quickstart guide that will quickly familiarize you with its core fundamentals. In fact, I recommend you print it out and keep it handy for easy reference. In fact, you can see right here, I've got mine right here. This is the Windows version. This is the Mac version. Okay, keep them handy. Just put them somewhere you can easily get to them, because it's just nice to have that. Once you get used to it, once you've familiarized yourself with those tools, before you know it, you'll be using them. You won't even need them anymore. But I recommend spending at least an hour studying, practicing, messing around with this Quickstart guide. It doesn't take much. Just keep it simple and you'll reinforce everything I teach you today. Now, Scapple offers a wealth of excellent keyboard shortcuts, which if you're willing to learn, they are so worth it. Many of which I'll be highlighting today in today's slides, both Mac OS and Windows. I've done my best to get all those out for you. Now, keep an eye out for them throughout the presentation. And remember, the session is being recorded. So if you miss anything, you'll have the opportunity to revisit it later. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get started. I want to talk about creating, saving, and opening a Scapple board. It's really easy to do. Let's explore how that works right now. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and open up Scapple. So it's right here in my dock right here. If you're on a Windows or a PC, right, you're going to go ahead and find that in your start menu or on your desktop shortcut. We'll click that and open it up. And it will open up this little window here where you can either open up an existing Scapple board or you can create a new one. And we're going to go ahead and create a new one. You can see when I click that, it went ahead and just opened it up. If I exit out, I lose that screen, I can go to File, New, and open that up again. Once again, that was File, New. It'll open up this board right here for me, okay? Now, I could also go to File, Open, and it would bring up that same window back up here. You can see that's the new document button there. You could also click this guy right here. It'll do the same thing. You see it opened up 2 different documents. Now, one thing I like to do with Scapple when I first created a new board is I like to save it. That does not happen automatically. So I go ahead and click Command S or Control S, or I go to File, Save. And this is just a way for me to quickly get this down and done. And I give it a very a quick descriptive name. I'm just calling this my first Scapple board for now. Obviously, if you have a clear idea of what you're trying to do, you know, I've had a bunch of different in the past, my Phantom Lord of Shadows for keeping track of my Phantom Lord of Shadows series, my Magic System template, etc. Things that I was kind of brainstorming and building out in Scapple. That's a great thing to do as well. Click Save. And there we go. It's now been saved. It's called my first scappleboard.scap. And you may notice as well that your boards are saved in iCloud right here, but you can save them anywhere. That's actually just where I happen to save mine. Okay. Okay, looking good. So we can also use the keyboard shortcut Command in or Control in on a PC to create a new board. So let me go ahead and do that now. I'm going to press Command in, and that'll create a new one. If I were on a PC, I push Control in, it would open that up. And that's how we would open, save, and create our first board. Okay, now we'll come back to this in just a second, so hang tight, don't worry. But we're going to move on to our next slide. Now that we know how to create our Scapple board, get it set up and saved, let's explore its various tools and features. Now, like I said, Scapple's interface is intuitive, making it really easy to create and edit notes with a simple double click. You can create a new note anywhere on your board. To edit a note, you just double click it again and start typing. And you can press Escape when you're finished to exit out, or even just click somewhere else. Now, if you need to duplicate multiple notes quickly, you can easily do that by holding down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC while clicking and dragging to your desired location. And to bring structure to your brainstorming session, Scapple also provides background shapes for grouping notes. These shapes can feature a magnetic function, ensuring that your notes stay where you want them right on that shape. Now, let's go ahead and see it in action. So we're going to go ahead and double click to create. And you can see right there, it's already listed double click anywhere to create a note. Drag notes onto one another to make connections. We'll talk more about connections in a second, but let's focus on creating our first note. Now I'm going to double click here and boom, there's my first note. I type into it. There we go. It's done. Now, you may notice already that my note looks a little bit different than yours if you're trying this for the first time. And that's because I've gone over here to my settings and I've changed the default preferences. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit, but I just wanted you to be aware that's why mine looks a little bit different than probably yours does right now. And I'm going to show you just how to do that in just a minute. But for now, creating notes is really easy. Double click, type inside it. Simple. Okay. Now, if I wanted to escape editing, I can push escape and it'll take me right out. If I hit return, just so you know, it'll actually just go down. I can keep writing. Like so. Escape to edit. Or if I click out. So if I was here and I click out, then it ends editing as well. Okay. If I want to duplicate notes, what do? On a PC, I would hold Alt. On a Mac, I'm going to hold Option and drag. Either way, Alt or Option, depending on what computer you're on. I'm going to hold down that key. I'm going to drag it over like this. And boom, I have a duplicated note. Really easy to do. I love that feature. It just makes quick work if I just need to quickly duplicate something and keep going. Let's see here. Perfect. Now, last but not least here, we have background shapes. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see this a little bit better. Move these over. And then we're going to go ahead and add a background shape. I'm going to go right click, new, background shape. right there. I also have a default color. This is not what they typically look like by default. This is something I set up, but you can see here. I can put those underneath it like so. And by default, I did turn on the magnetic. If it isn't magnetic, you can come to the inspector. Let's see if I can find that real quick. View. And there's an option right here to make this magnetic. Background shapes magnetic. We'll talk more about this in a minute, don't worry. But you can see if I turn that off, anywhere I move the shape, the notes don't come with it. If I turn it on, the notes move with it. So that's a really handy way to kind of keep your notes in order. You can make this as big or as small as you want. You can rearrange things on it like so. Really handy. So that's it. Double click to create. Type in, escape to edit. Hold Alt or Option to duplicate. Right click, new background shape to create a background shape. Move it around. Magnetic goes on or off. Simple as that. Okay, so let's switch back to our presentation here. Next, we're going to talk all about moving, selecting, and deleting notes. Okay, so now that we've created and edited our first notes in Scapple, let's move on to moving, selecting, and deleting them. To move a single note, click and drag it to your desired location. And you've probably already seen me do that. Pretty simple, right? You pick the note, you select it, you move it where you want it to go. If you want to move multiple notes, you can hold down the Shift key on a Mac or a PC, or the Command key or the Control key to select multiple notes one by one. You can also select multiple notes by clicking and dragging to create that little marquee rectangle around them. And then once they're all selected, you can drag them wherever you want on your Scapple board. Now, deleting notes is just as easy. If you want to delete a note or a group of notes, it's honestly a breeze. You simply do the same thing. You select the notes you want, and then you press the delete key, and they're gone. If you're on a PC, it's probably going to be your backspace key. So backspace, delete, to me, they're interchangeable. Just click it, and boom, they're gone. Now, alternatively, you can also use the contextual menu, where you can just right-click a note and select delete, or you could go to the file, the edit menu there at the top menu, and select delete there as well. Let's go ahead and test that out. Okay, so we have right here moving notes, right? Like I said, pretty simple. We're moving around, we click, we drag, it goes where we want it to go. If we want to move multiple notes or even shapes or anything like that, we can just do the marquee rectangle like this, and we can move everything all at once like so, anywhere we want to. If we wanted to as well, we could hold down Shift to select specific notes. So let's say I wanted to get a couple. I could go this one, this one, this one, this one, and move them individually. I could also have the same effect by holding down the Command key, or in the case of a PC, the Control key, right? Boom, like this. Boom, boom, and then move them like that. Done. Same with these guys. Boom, done. Just like that. Simple. Now, if I want to delete something, pretty easy. I can select it and hit my delete key, and it's gone. I could also right-click and click delete like so. That's the contextual menu right here by right-clicking a note and selecting delete. I could also go to the edit, delete option right there. Pretty simple. Let's see if I missed it. I don't think I missed anything there. So that's it. That's moving, selecting, deleting notes, just like that. And like I said, guys, this is so simple, easy to do. I love it. I love it. We're going to get more in depth, and I'll show you some examples at the end too of some things I've done with it. But hopefully, for those of you who are absolute beginners, you're getting an idea of how easy and simple this is. Okay, moving right along. Let's talk about next making and removing connections. Now, one of Scapple's most useful features is its ability to create connections between notes. Now, to make a connection, simply drag and drop one note into another. That's simple. By default, the connection will be represented by a dotted line. Now, if you want a straight line with an arrow, that's possible as well. We can add arrows to your connections by holding down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC as you drag and drop onto a new note. You can also remove arrows by repeating this action on the same connection. Now, if you want to reverse the direction of the arrow, hold down the Option, Command, or Control and Alt on a PC while dragging and dropping onto your note. And for two-way arrows, hold down the Shift Command key or the Shift Alt Control key while dragging and dropping onto your note. And you can see I've got those all listed right here for you. Okay, so take a mental note of those. Okay, if you don't remember them, that's fine. Remember, we're recording. You will have access to these later. And you can, of course, find them all on your lovely cheat sheet here. So take advantage of this. I think the PC version is it's 3 pages long. It's not that long, very short. And the Mac version, I managed to get it down to 2 pages. Oh, great question. So I glanced over at the chat here, and I see Colleen is asking, is this a completely separate program from Scrivener? I would go to Scapple to make notes and then Scrivener to write. That's a great question. So yes, Scapple is a completely separate app from Scrivener, completely different. However, I'll show you at the end, they do work together. I can bring notes from Scapple into Scrivener. And the one thing I like about Scapple is it's really good for the brainstorming stage. It's great where I can just kind of have a blank canvas where I can just drop down ideas, build connections, and then I can take those ideas and connections, bring them directly into Scrivener, and then edit them, change them, and use them. So yes, it is a completely separate app. Great question, Colleen. Thank you for asking. And Templeton, I also love the magnetic feature. It's the best. I love that they all stick together, and I can group things together and make it look really nice and simple. Okay, let's see here. Okay, we were making and removing connections. I think we're ready to go ahead and see this one in action. I'm going to share my screen here real quick. So dragging and drop. I'm going to go ahead and make some new notes here. One note. Note 1. Summary here. And to save myself some time, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. I'm going to call this Note 2. There we go. Summary here. There we go. Like so. Something like that. And so to make a connection, to drag and to drop. I drag Note 1 to Note 2, and you can see there it is. The connection has been made. It's this dotted line. Okay. Now, if I want to add an arrow to it, I can hold the Option key or the Alt key on a PC. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to hold down my Option key on a Mac, drag and drop it over, and that turns into it now a straight line with an arrow. If I want to remove a connection, just to show you, we can do a regular connection and an arrow connection. So this is a regular connection. If I want to remove that, I just drag and drop it on again. It goes away. Same thing is true here from Note 1 to Note 2. Drag and drop, goes away. Okay. Now, if I want a reverse arrow or an arrow that's pointing back at the note I'm connecting, this is how we do that. For a PC, we'd hold Alt and Control, and for a Mac, we'll hold Option Command. Okay, so Option Command, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to drag Note 1 to Note 2, and boom, now the arrow is pointing back at this guy here. Okay, it's worth noting that I could do the same thing by just holding Alt Option, like so, and dragging in the direction I want the arrow to go. But if for some reason you're going the other direction, you want to reverse that arrow direction, you can do that by holding Option Command or Alt Control on the PC. And once again, if I want to remove it, what do? Drag and drop on, I'm done. Once again, Option Command, connect, Option Command, connect. There we go. That's how we remove arrows, reverse arrows, add arrows. If I want to go have arrows going both directions, okay, on a Mac, I'll use Shift Command. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, the Command key, drag and drop it. It'll go, oops, let's try that again. Shift Command, boom, does it both ways. And once again, for a PC, that would be Shift Alt Control. Okay, once again, Shift Alt Control for PC users. So I'm going to hold that Shift Command, drag and drop it on, boom, like so. Now, if you don't need arrows or you're not going to use arrows or anything like that, the default connection where you just drag and drop like that is perfect. You can just have that dotted line. Don't have to learn any keyboard shortcuts for that. It's literally just a drag and a drop. Okay, but if you want to go that extra level, learn those little keyboard shortcuts. It'll help you out by making sense or giving you the option to have those arrows or not. Okay, looking good so far. That is our making and removing connections. So let's go ahead and move on to our next section here. Next, we get to the fun stuff. We're going to talk about formatting our notes. Here we go. So if it'll go, there it goes finally. Okay, so to customize the appearance of our notes and connections, Scapple offers various formatting options. You can set a default note style and for new notes and shapes by going to the settings on the Mac or the options menu on a PC. That's file options for PC users and Scapple settings for Mac users, or you can apply specific styles to individual notes using the contextual menu. Now, for more advanced formatting options, we can use the inspector feature, and that's turned on by either going to the view option there at the top, going to view inspector, show inspector, or hide inspector, or using this keyboard shortcut option Command I or Control Shift I. Either way, you can get that in the top menu or use that keyboard shortcut. Now, this allows you to change font sizes, add borders, and so much more. You can also batch edit multiple notes by selecting at once by selecting them all and then making the changes either in the inspector or with the contextual menu. And don't forget your basic text formatting shortcuts. You can bold, italicize, and underline simply by using Command B, Command I, Command U. If you're familiar with those, you probably use them a lot in Microsoft Word or even in Scrivener itself, right? Those are pretty common shortcuts. All right, it's going to be Control B, Control I, Control U on a PC. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it out. Let's see what it takes to format our notes. We're going to talk about the default formatting. How can I set up that default formatting so it creates the new note or the new shape in the way I like it every time? We can look at the contextual menu, the inspector, how to batch edit, and then how to use those quick and easy shortcuts. Here we go. So default formatting. So first off, if I want to get, you can see like how I have this. This is how my default note looks like. And I really like this because it looks kind of like a sticky note. I've got a nice little border around it. I got that yellow background. That's kind of typical for a default note for me. And I love the look of it. It's also a square versus kind of like these rounded edges. So how do we go about doing that? Well, if I'm on a PC, I'm going to go to my file options section there. If I'm on a Mac, I'm going to go to Scapple settings. Okay. And from there, I can actually go from general to new notes, and I can change all the details. Now, right now, the default text is nothing. So I'm going to put default text. I'm going to do it as a plot point. We'll say maybe I'm plotting a novel. I plot novels mostly in here, right? So maybe that might be a specific thing I want to have coming up each time. I can, of course, come in here at any point and change it. I can change the default font size if I want to. I'm going to leave it alone. I can even change the default width. I'm going to go ahead and leave that alone too. That's just going to change what happens when I click and create a note here. You can see it's already got the plot point in there now. It's looking really good. I can even change the default alignment if I want it to be centered, right alignment, or justified. Let's go ahead and do center just so we can see what that looks like. Looks like something like that. Well, let's go ahead and keep it as the default alignment. I can even choose a fill color. I can have no fill color. So by default, this is what you're going to see in, what do you call it? In Scapple, when you first open it up, it's going to look something like this. There's going to be no border. There's going to be just some text in there. I can't remember what the text is. Maybe Ruth, if you recall what happened, what text is in there by default. But yeah, it's just going to be a plain text with no border. But personally, I really like a border. I think right about here looks good. Let's see. Yeah. I choose the third thickness. You can go really thick. You can go medium. You can go anywhere here to no border at all. And you can choose a fill color. If we check that back in, I can choose any color I like. I can show all the colors. I can do whatever I want here. So whatever color makes sense to you, I could do that green color. And boom, now I get green every time. But for me personally, I just love that yellow. For me, it works. We can even change the border color if we want to. The border color is the color that goes around the note. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to change that to, let's do it as a red just to shake things up. You can see that really well. And there we go. Now we got a red border now. So up to you how you set that up. It's personal preference, but the point is you have the power to do it. So I recommend you do it. This doesn't take very long at all. You come in here, you get that note set up just how you like it. And for me, it just gives a little bit more structure to this tool. From there, we can also move over to our shapes. Now there is, unlike notes, there is nothing to type inside these, so there's no default note or text in there. Our notes are going to be these guys right here that we drop into our shape, right? But we can adjust the fill color here. We can either turn it off, so there's no fill color at all, right? Just empty like that. Oops, it's magnetic. We can make it magnetic by default. I'm pretty sure that's turned off by default, so you can either turn that on or off. So when you make a new shape, it's magnetic by default. You could even give it a shadow. Let's take a look at that real quick and see what the shadow looks like. New background shape. Okay, kind of see that. Oh yeah, you can kind of see the little shadow there. Maybe you can't. I'm trying to zoom in here a little bit. You can see, ooh, yep. It's really hard to see, but there is a shadow there now versus this guy over here. There's no shadow. So that's a really minor detail, but if you like that, if it adds a little bit of depth to your board, go for it. Turn it on. In fact, I think I'm going to keep mine on from now on because that looks kind of cool. We could do a rounded border style. We could do a square. Let's see what the square looks like. New background shape. Yep. Now it's a square instead of those rounded corners. Personally, I like to keep it different from my notes because I don't want my notes and my background shapes to look the same. I want them to be different. I don't want to get confused. So I used to keep one as a square and one as a rounded or something else. But we can do jagged. You can see this background shape. That's what jagged looks like. We could also do a cloud. If you're interested in cloud, we could do new background shape and it looks like kind of like a cloud now. Oops, it's magnetic. It's grabbing everything. Delete those guys. See like that? That looks a little bit like a cloud, right? So kind of fun. There we go. So depending on your personal preference, you can set that up how you like it. I'm going to put my fill color back in. You can make the border thicker or thinner. I'm going to leave it right there. It looks like I got a little bit thicker than my notes. I am going to keep it back as the rounded. For me, that gives a more simplistic, minimalistic look, which is the kind of look I prefer. But once again, you do you. I'm going to keep the shadow there. And let's see here. Did I miss anything in the notes? Oh, I missed the border style here. So the same with my notes. I can do a rounded, I can do square, I can do jagged or cloud. Okay, and I could even add in a shadow if I want. Let's see what it looks like with the shadow. Yeah, shadow looks nice. Yeah, we'll keep that on. Why not? So that's how we set up our default appearance or a default formatting for new notes and new shapes. Takes like maybe 5-10 minutes to set this up at most. Most of it's just you figuring out what your personal preference is. And then, of course, anytime you can come here and make changes. Okay. Now, and on top of that, we have our option to use the contextual menu to make changes to our note formatting. Now, by default, there are some things that are already set up in Scapple, but let's go ahead and look at that. We're going to go ahead and right click. This is the contextual menu. Anytime we right click something and we get this menu, we call that the contextual menu. We come in here and we have apply note style. Now you can see that there's the default note style. So if I have a bunch of notes, I want to change them all to the default note style. I can right click, apply note style, default note style. Boom. And it even did it for the shape here. This was the default shape. So I had a shape selected and it changed that to the shape style. Oh, I love that. Likewise too, there are some that are already built in here. So I could do a bubble blue. Right click again, apply. There's green. There is yellow, red. I can just do red text. And I could just do, let's see here, title text. So it's big like that. So these are some default note styles that are built in. If you're wondering where these are located, they're right over here in note styles. If I open that up, there they are right there. Okay, these are the default note styles that are available. Okay. Now these are customizable. I'm not going to cover that today because it's a little bit beyond the scope of today's webinar, but I did want to let you know that these can be changed. You can change default note styles, but we'll cover that another day. But there we go. And I can also do the same thing over here in the inspector. I can click any one of these and change it. And the more notes I have selected, the more changes I can do. So this is the batch editing I'm talking about, where we can select multiple notes or shapes and make those changes. There we go. If I want to get back to the default. You can see the default is, in fact, whatever I've set up here in my settings. Okay. Looking good. Okay, let's see if I'm missing anything here. Okay, we talked about the contextual menu. We talked about the inspector. If I want to remove the inspector, the easiest way to get the inspector up is to just go ahead and come here to view to show the inspector. Same for the PC users. But if you want to, you can definitely learn that keyboard shortcut. Once again, that's Option-Command-I for Mac users and Control-Shift-I for PC users. Let's go ahead and try that now. And boom, on and off, I can do that. Just like that. Here we go. Okay, if I want to bold, italicize, or underline any text, Okay, I can select it here. I can select, no, I can bold it. I can underline it, italicize it, or underline it. And this is me using the keyboard shortcuts. Once again, that's Command B, I, or U for Mac, Control B, I, U for PC users. If I wanted to as well, I can do all of this stuff in the inspector. If I don't want to learn any keyboard shortcuts, just open up my inspector and click a note, and boom, there I have the option to underline, bold, strike through. All of it is there, right there. Okay, I can even adjust font size. I can do alignment. I can change color. And so you can see I can do this for individual notes. I can do this for many notes, right? I can select all of them and make changes to everything. I can increase the thickness, make them thicker. I could change the style from square to jagged, for example. And so any changes I want to make, the inspectors kind of allows me to either narrow in on a specific note or select multiple notes to make batch changes. Okay, so hopefully you getting the idea here. Pretty easy to do. I can go ahead and set these up however I like to. I can make any sort of adjustment I want to them, and I can do all sorts of fun things here. Okay, and that's all just within the vicinity of this little area. One thing you should remember, you can see right here in the bottom right corner, I have a zoom option. This canvas can be quite large. It's basically an infinite canvas. As big as I want it to be, it can be. If I wanted to duplicate these like this, I'm going to select them all and hold the Option key or Alt key on a PC, and there I've just duplicated everything, like so. I could zoom in here and then scroll over, like so, to see those. There we go. Okay, we'll talk more about zoom in just a second, so let's go ahead and dive right in here. Yeah, so, okay, Val says, okay, got it. Thanks. Do you get a discount on Scapple if you already have Scrivener? I can't find the price on Scapple. Okay, I found the price. It's not expensive. Yeah, Scapple is really inexpensive. I'm not going to say it right now because I can't remember. I think it looks like Ruth went ahead and posted that thing, but it's really inexpensive. It does not cost much. It's a fraction of the cost of Scrivener, and it is, despite its low cost, a very robust and powerful tool. And like I said, the greatest thing about Scapple is that we do have a lot of options here, but it's pretty dang simple. It's not super complex. Even if you just learned the simple drag and drop, create note here, background space there, honestly, background shape, it's simple, easy to use. Okay. Oh yeah, and Ruth also mentioned it also has our standard trial of 30 days, non-consecutive days, which I'll talk more later too. So thank you so much for that, Ruth. So true. Okay, well, let's dive right back into our presentation here, and we'll move on to our next step. Okay, we're going to talk about zooming. Yes, zoom and navigation. No, I don't mean Zoom the app, right? For Swift navigation on your board, utilize the quick zoom feature. Okay, that allows you to simply just hold the Z key on your keyboard and position your cursor over the desired zoom area. I love this function. Okay, you just hold Z, you put your mouse where you want to go, and it takes you there. Okay. It's like magic. You're just jumping from one place to another on your board. And if you have a large board, that's going to make a lot of sense. You're going to want to be able to just quickly jump from one space to another, from one section to another, from one group of notes to another on a dime, just like that. Now you can also zoom in using keyboard shortcuts. Of course, we have some options there. Option Command up arrow key, that's the arrow key pointing up, and control, it's just Control plus on PC. So a little bit easier for PC users there. You just Control plus and you're zooming right in, and it's Option Command down for Mac or Control minus on PC. Okay, that's zooming in and zooming out. Now, to make things really easy, if you're a trackpad user, so if you have either the Apple trackpad or you have a trackpad on your device, navigating around your board is even easier. In fact, I'm going to turn mine on real quick. I do have a trackpad, but I don't use it too often for presentations because sometimes my what do you call it? I just lost it. Sometimes my hand bumps it and I click on something I don't mean to. But you can see if you have a trackpad, it makes navigating your board really easy. You can simply use your 2 fingers to pinch and zoom and 2 fingers to navigate and scroll around your board. If you don't have a trackpad, you can still simulate this movement using the middle mouse button. If you're not familiar with the middle mouse, it's this guy right here in the center of your mouse there. If you click the scrolling wheel, that's the middle mouse. I learned about this I think probably a year ago now, but I love it because if you don't have a trackpad, it's still a great way to simulate this kind of movement where you can just click and drag and move anywhere you want to in the board. And once again, it's It's the scrolling wheel button. You click it and you just drag around on your board. We'll look at that here in a minute. Wish I could demonstrate that better, but like digitally, but that's kind of, hopefully that'll give you the idea of kind of what it looks like of what I'm doing there. Now, if you want to make small adjustments to your notes locations, it's often easier to do that with the arrow keys. Now, by default, the arrow keys select notes around the current one. That means, so if I click the arrow key left, it'll take me to the note to the left. I click the arrow key left, it takes me to the note to the right, up and down, etc. So if I want to actually move the note with the arrow keys, I do that by tapping M on my keyboard, and then enables movement mode, allowing the arrow keys to kind of slightly nudge the nose left, right, up, and down. Now, if you want to move your notes even further than that, you can hold down Shift Command or Shift Control on a PC, and you can move those even greater distances, and I'll show that in just a minute. Now, holding down the arrow key will also move notes longer distances. So if you're just holding the arrow key while holding those shortcuts, those keys, it'll move it even more. Let's go ahead and see this in action. Let's do it. Okay, so here we go. We're going to talk about zoom. So my favorite one, the quick zoom. Now you may have noticed what I did before. The zoom option, the toolbar here is here, right? I can zoom all the way in, zoom all the way out, right? But there is a quicker way. The Z key. Just hold Z and boom, I'm out. Put my mouse where I want to go and boom, I'm there. Zoom, zoom. Now, of course, if I want to adjust the zoom level I'm at, when I get to when I use the quick zoom, I may want to zoom out here. This becomes my default zoom level. So I then go ahead and click the Z again. I come over here, boom, boom, like so. You see how that does that? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So if I created a note over here, let's zoom out here. I'm going to use my keyboard shortcuts and zoom out by pushing Option Command and pushing the down key. That's zooming me out far back as I can go. I could take this guy all the way over here. And now I can zoom back in. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, now I'm just somewhere on my board. I can't really tell where, right? I'm going to click my Z key again, and boom, here I am. Looks like I was right about there. I can zoom down over here. We can even zoom out. It's a bit too close, right? There we go. We can zoom out again, come all the way over here now. Okay, so hopefully you can see that quick zoom, holding that Z key. Great resource to just quickly navigate and move around, okay? And once again, zooming in and zooming out, I can use those keyboard shortcuts, or I can use this little zoom scroller wheel here, scroller bar. That's what I'm looking for right here. Now we're going to go ahead and reset that to the default. That's what that reset button kind of takes you back to that default zoom level. And we're going to look at using the trackpad. So I do have my Apple trackpad here, okay, in case you're wondering what I'm using. It's this guy right here. You can use any trackpad, that works with your computer, right? But I just love this. I can pinch and zoom to get in and out quickly too. So if I'm using a trackpad, I can use 2 fingers to kind of navigate anywhere I want to go. You see how easy that is? Just kind of swipe where I want to go. So if you're using a trackpad, I will say it does save a lot of time in Scapple. I love using a trackpad. I love having a trackpad. So if you're a big Scapple user, it might be worth the investment. But if not, if you already have a mouse with the middle mouse, right, with the scrolling wheel, you can do the same thing by clicking here and dragging. I'm going to do that right now. I'm using my middle mouse now, so I can click and drag. It's not quite as smooth, but it's very, very nice. Also inexpensive because you don't have to buy an extra trackpad, right? And I can just move this around anywhere I want to. I like that. It's like a click and drag kind of function. See, if I just click the regular click, it allows me to select notes. But if I click with the middle mouse, I can move to other sections of my Scapple board. So up to you. If you have a trackpad, use it. It's great. If you don't have one, use the middle mouse. That's great too. Of course, let's talk about now our movement mode. Okay. Now with that done, if I want to nudge a note around, sometimes you just want to move a note just a little bit. Maybe it's like off by like this much, right? So if I hit the left key right now, you see it's actually jumping around to different shapes and notes, which is not what I want. Okay. I want to move the note more, I want to nudge it into the right direction. So let's do that. Let's zoom out here. I think it was this guy right here we were looking at. I'm going to select this one right here, and I'm going to go into movement mode by clicking M. And there you can see toggled on movement mode. If I hit it again, it turns it back to selection mode. So movement mode, if you can see, let's actually zoom in here so you can see this really, really good. I'm going to zoom in. Boom, 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 boom. This is me using the keyboard shortcut. I use them all, just in case you're wondering. I use the track. It just depends on what pops in my head and is most convenient at the moment. But if I click that note now and I hit over and move, you can see I'm hitting left. It's moving that over very slowly. Now, if I wanted to make a bigger nudge, I could hold Shift Control on the PC or Shift Command on a Mac and nudge that a little bit more. But see, that was a little bit too much. So it might make more sense for me just to do it like that. And if I hold it, of course, it's going to move it more left and right if I hold down that arrow key while holding down the button. If I'm holding nothing but the arrow key, you can see it goes a little bit slower. There we go. That's how we nudge things around, our notes around in movement mode. And this may make more sense if these were actually square, if I wanted to get these nice and lined up like so. Ooh, yeah, looking good. Boom. Get that precise thing. I could even shape this up so it's right there. If you're really kind of like, it needs to be straight, you can get real narrow in with it and really mess around with it and have some fun with that. You can also even do some other fun stuff where you can like stack them like so. So they kind of stack on top of each other like that. That was a right click and stack, right? There you go. Extra bonus point tool there. I wasn't planning to talk about that, but it just popped up. Okay, well, that is zooming and navigating in Scapple. Let's go ahead and reset our zoom here in the bottom right corner. Boom, right back to normal. And then let's switch back to our presentation. Okay, well, we're coming close to the end here. We got a couple slides left. We're going to talk about now adding media. Okay, now let's take our Scapple board to the next level by adding different media types. So we can simply drag and drop images, text, and links onto our Scapple board. And did you know that Scapple can read various file types such as text files, rich text files, Microsoft Word documents, even open document text files, so ODT files, which makes it really easy for you to incorporate external sources directly into your brainstorming process. Pretty easy to do. Simple drag and drop. Let's give it a try. Okay, so we're going to make Scapple small and probably put it up to the side here so we can see that a little bit better. And I'm going to open up my Finder. If I'm on a PC, I'd be using my Windows Explorer. And let's see what kind of files we can bring into Scapple here. So I'm going to go into my Scrivener demo files, which happens to also be my Scapple demo files. And let's find here some images. So images come in really, really easily. I can select multiple images or I can do a single image. Let's start with just one. And there it is. I can zoom out there a little bit, move it around. I can make it smaller if I want, so it fits onto this lovely little background shape here. I could even say, hey, character, we'll call this Revelo. There's Revelo. He's got his little space, and there's his little note. Boom. And guess what? It all moves together. Oh, I love that. You can make that bigger or smaller. Maybe you're just starting really simple here. You could put all sorts of fun description information about your character right there in Scapple. And basically, you could flesh out and build a character in Scapple before you even open up Scrivener, which is, to me, awesome. You can decide how you want to do that. I can also bring in my other characters here. Boom, boom, boom. 3 at a time. I have them all selected, so I can make them smaller, like so. And I can do the same thing. See how easy that was to bring those in? Simple, okay? And that works with any image file, just drag and drop it straight into your Scapple board. You can see it says edited here at the top. I do go ahead and save that occasionally. It's a good habit to have in mind, but there we go. We got those in there. I'm gonna actually zoom out just a tad since we don't have as much space as before. There we go, okay. And what I could do here, I could hold down Option and hold, right? And then recreate that and then make this small, right? And throw that on there like so. Boom. Make these little mini character cards like that. And then once again, hold Option again to duplicate. You see how the duplicates function suddenly becomes kind of nice? And I can delete that there. Make this a little bit smaller. In this case, we're going to make the shape a little bit bigger, right? And Option, oops, wrong one. I grabbed the wrong part. Undo. Let's go ahead and do Option, click and drag again. Delete this one here. Make that small, fit inside there, and boom, I got a bunch of little cards together. And you remember from our formatting that we learned earlier, I can come in here, I can change things that make this. I think I typically have him being yellow, and maybe I'll change his things to green inside here just so to keep it different. And then him is typically, he's red, so I'll change this to red. And now I'm just using the quick changes here. I probably would come through and also change borders because I like thicker borders, right? And I want the border color to be black like that. So you can see I can just come through. I can make changes here. I can change this to Ival like so. And so obviously these are really small cards, but you can see I could easily come through, make these bigger, smaller, make lots of different changes to them and give them just how I want them to be. Oh, okay, so that's a good question. Dark mode. Someone's asking about that. So Scapple by default has this color. You can change the background canvas. I'm not covering that today. I believe it's in settings here, in case you're wondering. I think it's in general, or maybe it's not here. Where was that? Anyway, I'll have to look at that. But yes, this is dark mode by default. I think if I go to... I thought there was a theme. Maybe not. So yeah, I think that it might actually be the default. I might have to actually go to my system settings and see if that changes anything. But I'll look at that. Remind me at the end, Allison, and I'll look at that a little bit closer. That's a good question. I'm not sure if it's if that's the default color for Scapple or if it's because I have my system settings set up to dark mode. It's just easier on my eyes. Okay, let's move right along here. So we talked about images. Let's look at text. So if I wanted to bring in some text here, let's go with fantasy. No, let's not do the custom list. Let's do manuscripts. These are pretty long. Let's see if I can just drag and drop this guy. This is just a sample document. It says, would you like to split the imported text into multiple notes? And then you can actually select, yes, I do want to split that into multiple notes. And then it'll split them based on the criteria you have here. So in this case, it's looking for 2 spaces or 2 return lines, right? To make those splits. You can have any sort of separator you want in your text to do that. I could do the pound key, I could do an ampersand, I could do anything. As long as it's in my text and it can easily be identified. I'm gonna go ahead and click import. You can see there it was. Anytime there was a 2 section thing, go ahead and split it. And it was able to bring that in like so. So maybe if I've already got some plotting or some stuff already figured out and stuff or other notes I want to bring from another file in, whether it's a text file, a rich text file, a Microsoft Word document, or an Open Office document, or Open Document Text File, ODT, I can easily just drag and drop those straight into Scapple, and they'll come in looking quite nicely. Okay. Let's see. Okay, lastly, there are some things that you can't bring in directly into Scapple, and that includes like video and audio files here. But what you can do instead is you can still drag and drop them in, but what will happen is they'll come in as links. And so you can kind of create a link, a system of links, and if I click that, it will take me to that file. It would open it up in the external app. In this case, it's opening up in QuickTime, right? And I can even come in here, and I could change the name here as well to the world file, but you can see it's a little bit tricky, like so. And I can still keep that link. The link hasn't changed. I've kind of gotten rid of that path, but if I click it still, it'll still open up that file. Oh, maybe. Oh, there it goes. Just a little slow. Okay, so that's something you can do as well if you kind of want to link to some external files that you can't necessarily bring directly into Scrivener. Into Scapple here. So there we go. Thus, adding media to your Scapple project. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward, simple, yet powerful. We're gonna make this big again. Scroll over. That's a great question. You know what? Since we're at that junction, let's go ahead and look at that. Can we drag text from Scapple or from a Scrivener document? Let's see what happens. So technically, just so you know, a Scrivener document is in fact a rich text file. So there should be no problem bringing that over. So let's take this for example. Let's go to let's make that a little bit smaller here. I'm going to go to my series research. I'm going to go to my notes. I'm going to go to my name creations. Oh, not great. Let's do the male character list. I drag and drop that over. It did just bring that in directly like that. So it didn't bring in the whole list, but I could easily copy and paste those in like so. And it brought that whole list in. So I could select different sections of my notes like this, copy, paste. You can see, really easy to do. I can just copy and paste all day if I want to. So if I want to break these up into multiple notes, and you see how nicely it stacks them? Oh, I love that. Boom, just like that. So it's pretty easy to bring things over. If you're just dragging the title in here like this, it's just going to bring the name over, which is actually okay with me. I come over here, click name creation, so I can drag the title over. I could copy these and paste it right underneath it. You can see how it already stacks it in order for me, just like that. Simple and nice. Boom, done. Great question, Renee. That's an excellent question. So that's how I would do it. That's how I would bring things from Scrivener into Scapple. Ironically, I don't think about that very often. I'm usually bringing things from Scapple into Scrivener, but it's a perfectly reasonable assumption to say, hey, I've got some notes here in Scapple. I want to brainstorm them. I mean, in Scrivener, I want to brainstorm in Scapple. How do I bring those over? That's how I would do it. Last but not least, we're going to talk about exporting. So similar to Scrivener, if I want to get something out of Scapple, how do I do it? How do I get my notes out of Scapple? So you can export your entire Scapple board as a PDF file, PNG file, plain text files, rich text, even do they have Microsoft Word? I don't think it has Microsoft Word. I think that's a typo. Sorry, guys. I don't think Microsoft Word is an option. Plain text list and outline markup. Yeah, let me check. I'm going to double check that because now I feel silly because I meant to delete that one. Export. Yeah, Microsoft Word is not an option. My apologies there. That's a typo. So ignore that one. But everything else listed there, with the exception of Microsoft Word, you can export your Scapple board out. Now, Scapple Scrivener integration, we can actually import our Scrivener document directly, our Scapple board directly into our Scrivener project by simply dragging and dropping the entire board, or we can bring in individual notes directly into our project. And of course, if you just prefer a physical copy, you can just print it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and see that in action here. We've got here, let's look at exporting this out. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out real quick. What's going on? There we go. Sorry, I didn't have Scapple selected, so it was not doing what I wanted to do. So we can go to File, Export. We can export as a PDF. Okay, let's go ahead and export to these all so you can see them. We can draw background and use default text color. We could draw faded notes at full opacity. We're going to go ahead and just leave it at the standard setting. Click Save. That's done. We'll go to Export PNG. Export that out. Save. We can do plain text. You can see here we have the option to export selected notes only. I'm going to go ahead and do my whole board though. We can do rich text. And we can do rich text with attachments. I believe that'll also give us our images and things. We'll take a look at that in just a second. Now, I don't use all of these all that often, but it's worth looking at. Let's go ahead and do list and take a look at what some of these look like. Nice thing about the OPML file is that it's compatible with other apps that use a similar outline structure, like Evernote and OneNote and a lot of the other guys. There we go. And we can even just export the images themselves. Okay, so we've exported those out. Let's see what it looks like over here. Go ahead and minimize Scrivener here and our Finder. And there we go. We can see right here at the top, this is the PDF. Okay, that's what came out as our PDF. This is our PNG file right here. If we zoom in, you can see actually the detail is quite good. Zoom out. Excellent. It does get the whole board there. This is the text file. You can see just kind of put everything as like one after the other as text, no particular order there. Same thing. I think this is a rich text file. Okay. In this case, you can notice that it didn't include any of the images here. Plain text and rich text don't include images by default, so it won't get any of those. It might give you some, what do you call it, if I can find it, some like file paths and things. Oh, actually, no, it looks like a link. If we do the rich text with attachments right here, you can see it did include the images, but they're quite large. Oh, they're all, yep, they're all there. Okay. So it just depends on what format makes sense to you. Yeah, looking about the same. Plain text list looks the same as the plain text to me. And then the OPML file can be used to open in apps that use that format. Now, I don't use any other apps that use OPML, but if you are familiar with apps that use them and do use them, that might be handy for you to be able to transfer your Scapple board into that other OPML app and its specific software and system. Okay, and there we go. Last but not least, we had exported our images, and there are all our images that were in our board that we were able to just pull those out really quickly, just like that. So there you go. That's exporting out. And of course, if I just wanted to go ahead and print, let's see right here, right? I could just click, I could use Control P on a PC or Command P on a computer, and I could print that out. Of course, you can see it's kind of fit everything onto one page. So if I wanted to kind of mess around with this, I could probably switch this over to landscape to get the full image a little bit better. And we could even turn off the scale to fit one page. We could mess around with the scaling and try to get that. You can see that would be crazy. It's a lot of pages. So I probably want to mess around with some of this to get exactly how I want it to look, but it's definitely there. The options are there in your print settings to kind of mess around with that to get the print what you would like. Okay, so that's exporting your Scapple document out. Let's talk about bringing it into Scrivener now. Let's make this small. Let's go to Scrivener. Now, one thing that's really cool about this, let's go ahead and zoom in. There we go. Okay, so here's my notes here. I can literally just drag and drop a note directly into my Scrivener folder project here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and just create a folder. I'm going to call it Scapple Notes. Remember, organization is key. So however you do the organize, if I was bringing in characters, I could put them in the character section. But in this case, I'm trying to keep things pretty simple and straightforward here. I can actually drag and drop this right there. Boom, and there it is. There's the group. It comes in as a group if it's a background shaped like so. And you can see it has my character, the image, the note. What I can do here actually is I can merge these guys together if I want them to be one note. So go to window, not window, document, merge, right? Make those become one. And then even for the image, if I really, really wanted to, I could come here to my synopsis, switch this over to image, drag and drop this image over, and boom, there it is. And then I could even just get rid of this image if I didn't want it. And it's all just in one place now. A little bit of work, but to me, it's worth it. Doesn't take much. And I'm right there. I've got my character set up. So you can imagine if I had a big, lengthy, nice looking character sketch here, I could easily bring that into Scrivener with minimal problems, minimal changes here. Really simple, really straightforward. I could even get rid of that group section and just pull it out like that. And boom, there we go. I've got a character Revelo all set up and ready to go. Renee said, whoa, no idea you could merge documents. Yes, you can merge documents. Oh, there's so many cool things. If I only had time to tell you guys everything in one sitting, right? No, that would be that'd be way too much. But you see, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do here. So even if you just got like a fraction of what I teach you today, hopefully that'll get you where you need to go. So that's it. Let's see. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is I can bring this whole board into Scrivener if I want to. So let's go ahead and pull that up. This is my Scapple right here. If I wanted to bring this Scapple board in here, I could. I could literally drag and drop it directly into Scrivener, like so. Okay. And could do that. Let's see here. So I dragged it right in like that. Okay. And let's see, my first Scapple board. Yep. So we got that right in there already. You can see it doesn't give us a preview or anything currently, but what I can do is I can click this right here. Oops, wrong button. Sorry, the one next to it, and that'll open that up in Scapple for me. So that way I could keep it in here. It used to be that we had a nice little preview here. I don't know what happened to that, but you can do this. If you like to keep all your Scapple boards in a Scrivener project, you certainly could. Personally, though, you can see I really don't. I just keep them in iCloud right over here, and then I just bring things into between the two apps when I feel like it. But totally can. It's totally possible. Okay. If you want to have it all in one project, you certainly can do that. So you don't ever feel like, I don't know where my Scapple board is. It's there. You can find it. Okay, well, excellent. Let me go ahead and switch back. So as we conclude this training session, I want to acknowledge you guys' dedication and focus today. Thank you so much for all your participation. Really appreciate it. All the comments and questions and things like that. That's great. We've covered Scapple's core capabilities, from customizing your boards to adding multimedia elements to exporting your ideas. This app can enhance your brainstorming and organization, making it a really invaluable tool to turn your ideas into action. If you haven't made your purchase yet, I would encourage you to try out the free trial, right? Like Scrivener, we provide a 30-day non-consecutive free trial for Scapple. And the trial offers full functionality of the app and only counts the days you actually use the app, which is so key for me. And when I first started using Scrivener, Scapple, all of them, I liked that when I came back to it, if I left it for a day, I didn't come back 20 days later and find out, oh, my trial is over, it's ended. So for example, if you use the app for, let's say, 3 days out of the trial period and then return to it a month later, you would still have your 27 days left to test it out. So check it out. You can download that there. Just go to literatureandlatte.com. I think it's actually /Scapple, but just go to literatureandlatte.com, go to the Scapple page and download that. That's a great one to have. Okay, there we go. Now, once again, I'd like to encourage you, to let you know that I love reaching out to you guys. I love connecting with you, with fellow passionate writers who are passionate about their craft. It really fuels my own personal inspiration and gives me a great joy to bring you the help you need on your author journey. So if you're not already part of the Turning Writers into Authors community, please join us today by subscribing to my email list. You can do so right there using that QR code. All subscribers gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of valuable Scrivener and writing tools and training. Plus, as a token of my appreciation, you'll receive my free starter novel template, a dynamic tool that evolves with the collective insight of writers like you. And you can do that all today by going to ojevanson.com/links and selecting free starter novel template, or using that QR code right there. Now, of course, we have tons of great resources for you all. We have our full webinar library, which has tons and tons of webinars designed just for you to help you get get the party started, get the ball rolling, and get you writing. We have our user forum, we have our user manuals, our blog and video tutorials at literatureandlatte.com and ogevanson.com/tools, and a full knowledge base to help you with all the problems. Not to mention free technical support. So if you need help, people like Ruth are standing by, waiting and ready to answer your questions. Just send them an email. Okay, now the last thing I want to cover before we get to our Q&A is talk about what's next. Now, I am really excited about this. In collaboration with BookBaby, this Friday, November 15th, 2024, at 2 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. UK, I will be co-hosting a webinar on 5 steps to finish and publish your book before the new year. Now, together with senior publishing specialist Ramona Pina, we will discuss how to eliminate distractions and become intentional with your time so you can actually finish your book, set challenging, realistic writing goals and deadlines that will help you actually write your book, create a writing system that gets you in the zone and keeps you writing routinely. I'm going to teach you how to get and give feedback in a way that will help your writing skills blossom and grow. How to quickly export your writing out of Scrivener for final formatting and publication. And finally, our book, the senior publishing specialist, will also talk about how to take your book publishing experience to the next level. So I'm really excited to join partner hands with them this week. BookBaby and I will have, this is going to be a big one. Yep. So we already have, just so you know, we have over 1,500 people registered for this event. So if you're not signed up, please do so now. It's going to be wild. It's going to be fun. So I will see you there. Okay. So watch out for that. I'll get you links for that. Yeah, I can't wait either. It's going to be so much fun. We got a lot going on here. You know what? I'm going to drop in my link for you guys again. You can find all the links and registrations there from this link tree here. So check that out. Get registered. Okay, so now is the time to open the floor for any questions you may have. I'm happy to address any questions, concerns regarding Scrivener or Scapple and its features, as well as provide tips and advice for using it effectively in your writing. So don't be shy, ask away. Oh, before I do that, let me give you those email addresses too. Kitty says, great refresher. Thanks, Oliver and Ruth. Great. Perfect. I'm glad you enjoyed that, Kitty. It's great. It's important to keep these concepts clear in our mind. And we really haven't done a lot with Scapple in a while. So I was really excited to come in and bring this in and share it with you guys again. It's been a minute. Let's see here. I'm going to look back and see if I missed anything. Is there anything in the Q&A that was not covered? I'm sure Ruth got to it. Nope, looks like those are all asked and answered. Thank you to Susan, Vin, great. Okay, so there was Ruth mentioned that they requested to see full boards that I've built out. So that's a great question. Why don't I do that real quick? I'm going to share my screen. For anyone who's still sticking around, I'll show you some of the stuff I've done here. Let's drop that over there. Move this over here. Close that out there. So let's look here. So I have right here my Phantom Lord of Shadows. This is probably my pride and joy. Just so you know, I'm not too crazy with it, but you can see here, I've got some lovely cards. Oh boy, come on. I built out here. I built out a whole... Oh, what is going on here? You know what? We're just going to use the trackpad. So we have here our Act 1 setup. So I built out all the... This was the original outline for my novel before, you know, it's since evolved since then in Scrivener. But this is kind of what we did. We started out with 3-act structure, and we kind of built that out, how we wanted it to go. All the way through. You can see it's all in one. And we had them all kind of linked together, all of our viewpoint characters, what they were doing, what was going on. Like so, all the way down here. Once again, you know, it's nothing real fancy, but it works. I like it. I really do. I also did some world building elements over here, I think, where I was trying to come up with the idea when I started learning more about, you know, Save the Cat and things like that. I was building out, okay, like the whole series is like the series beat sheet, book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, etc. Even some world building here, right here. Here's our map that we had set up. This needs to be revised. I've changed that since. But we have our setting, world building, physical locations, actual places that characters will go, the time period, what kind of mood we want for each setting, kind of a general history of the entire world, what it's all about. So I even have like the old history and some of the new stuff. So yeah, that's kind of some fun things I've done in Scapple. Yep. Cabral says, thank you, Oliver and Ruth. Always love to keep updated and learn something new, like merging documents. Yes, that's so true. So true. Excellent. Okay. Well, let's see. That's one of the main ones. I'm trying to see if I have, I have a romance brainstorm here that I did a while back, where I was kind of keeping track of romantic plot devices and things like that, and kind of building an outline and characters and things like that. Opening image, setup, catalyst, debate. I kind of change it every time I do it, but you can see how I like this kind of background shape with my scenes and my beats, I guess you could say, where I'm kind of building it out, fleshing it out from top to bottom. So a lot of fun stuff there. Let's see here, but I think we'll leave it at that. Those are the two big ones I've spent a lot of time in. Some of these others are just examples and things that I pulled together over time. Okay, perfect. Well, Brett, I'm glad you enjoyed the session. Renee, I'm glad you enjoyed the session. That's great. Always glad that you guys find these things helpful. I'm going to assume that we are going to wrap it up here. Looks like everyone is ready to roll and jump out of here. We had a great session today. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Edwin. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, John. Make sure you get subscribed so you can keep up to date. I'll send the replay here on my Substack here shortly, so watch out for that. I'll get it up on YouTube tomorrow for sure. So as we conclude today's session, I wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude and thanks to each of you for dedicating your time and energy to this webinar. Your active participation has really been inspiring, and it's an honor to support you all on your writing journey. I hope my insights will empower you to achieve your writing goals. And remember, our team is always available here to assist you as you explore and harness Scrivener and Scapple's full potential. Stay connected with us. Keep checking out our upcoming webinars series for more educational, inspiring content. And until next time, write on and stay creative. See you guys.